Hey.
Hello and welcome back to Cookie and Hayden's. This is Reseller World, our live show. Annabelle shrunk again. Bloody hell.
You've got sat in an hole tonight.
Hi, I'm sitting.
Stop
I'm
slouching.
sitting. I'm sitting.
We have this every time now. Well, thanks for joining us. We've got Andy, aka the Mad Tatter. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good, mate. You?
You're getting, yeah, I'm good, thanks. I noticed before on your channel when I was putting the link in the description that you're almost at 1,000.
Yeah, I'm not a million miles away. I lost a few subscribers after the last couple of videos I uploaded, strangely enough. But, you know, it's not the end of the world, I guess. So, yeah, we're about 900. I think it's 967-ish. Something along those sort of lines the last time I looked. So it's getting there. It's getting there.
Close.
See if we can get you a bit closer on today's.
Yeah, everyone needs to go to Andy's channel, give him a sub if they haven't already.
You too kind.
If anyone deserves to be at 1,000, he does.
Oh,
so,
too kind. Thank you.
Let's have a look. There's quite a few people in the chat. I noticed that Rebecca Turner was in at like 5 o'clock this afternoon or something. It was seriously early.
We like early birds.
We can't even see you. The dog's
It's
covering you up.
fine. It's fine. She'll get down in a minute. It's not such a bad thing the way I look.
So welcome, Rebecca. Tori's in second. Yes, we noticed. And I have seen this before we came on, Tori. Thank you so much.
I know this is so generous.
That was very, very kind. Thank you. But there's one caveat to that. Can we swap it for a bottle of gin?
Oh.
Because
you can get a 10-quid bottle of gin. Fair play to you.
I will.
Aldi or something? Is there an Aldi?
Yeah.
Aldi did the £7.99 to drop bottles of gin. But I'll tell you now, right? We unpacked all the gin we've got, and we've got 15 bottles of gin. We don't drink.
That's what you do now.
We have like one drink or something, or two at the most at a night. A couple of times a week, if that.
Yeah, it's going to take us a while to get through 15 bottles of gin, though.
But thank you, Tori. We will add another one to our what do you call it?
Collection.
Cabinet. Yeah, collection.
Okay.
That's very, very kind. Thank you. And I know Tori pretty much comes on every single show, so thank you for your loyalty and support.
Look at this. She's like.
Here's a good one.
Who else we got in? The Thrifting Lounge, Mad Tatter. Yeah.
I need to message you, Thrifting Lounge, actually. I keep forgetting to message you. I will message you back on Insta soon.
Mr. Diggs Deals is in. That's Adrian. Oh, the Mad Tatter's saying here. Great to be back.
Who's the Mad Tatter?
I know, who's that nutcase?
Some geezer he hangs around on these streams.
We've got Damien. Who else have we got? Oh, bloody hell, Damien. You taking the mickey or what? $7.95 away from a new record for a day's sales.
Wow.
Yeah, Tori's been smashing it out as well, according to what she said in the chat before. Tori's had a pretty good day of it. Cool. I think she said she's done about 60 or 80 quid before 8:30 this morning. So there's a couple of people out there booking the trend, definitely.
Yeah, I'm on a 0 sales at the moment.
Yep, same for today.
No sales for me today so far. I wouldn't mind, but I've been doing some proper organic listing today. When I say organic, I mean new, completely new items, not relisting, sell similars and stuff.
Yeah.
And it hasn't prompted anything. So
we need to get someone to buy something from Damien to get into his.
Buy something for $6.99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. I had a pretty sort of naff weekend as well, but I found I did something that I've not done before, which was to send offers to watchers on items under 20 quid. I don't normally send offers to watchers on things that are that cheap, just because I think it's only 20 quid, you know. But I sent them offers where it was sort of like 99p off here, £1 off here and there. And it did pull me like another 4 sales through from the weekend. Nothing, you know, astronomical. I'm not going to retire off it, but it was a definite uplift just by doing that. So it did have, you know, doing a bit of something different. Yeah, every now and again might certainly be more beneficial than normal, particularly given the current sort of climate.
Yeah, you just got to take
pennies make pounds.
Exactly, you just got to take the sales when you can.
Yeah.
Dear Mates Products is in. Hello. Who else have we got?
Right, half the chat's Mad Tatter and his mates.
Right,
Not Tatter and Damien by the looks of it.
I've got the chat open on my PC screen just over next to me, and it's a little bit of a distance away, but I can just about make out the text. So that's why I keep looking over there.
We've got Watcher. We've got Paul C. John. Another John, the Salty Dog Picker. Where do people get these names from?
We don't want to ask that question.
The Salty Dog Picker.
We don't want to ask that question. I don't like the answer.
Andrew's in.
Hi, Andrew.
There's plenty of people going in here. Let's have a look. Right, I'm down to the bottom pretty much. There's a few more. There's Leanne. Sold 4 jigsaws yesterday. 1 for 50. That's a nice one.
Wow,
that's a good jigsaw sale. Yeah, spot on.
Stephen Jackson, I noticed there. Sorry, I missed you. Right, okay, we've caught up, I think. But if anyone's got any questions about anything at all,
yeah, fire away.
No agenda at all for the show, so we're just going to play it by ear. We'll see what people are talking about. We'll see what Andy wants to talk about, and we'll just see how it goes.
Cookie's taking over presenting.
You know me, I'll talk about anything, not a problem at all. So if anybody, if anything comes up in the chat or anything like that as we're going along, by all means, quite happy to address anything that comes up or any questions or anything like that. I know you had a live stream about it the other night, the whole sort of what I'm now referring to as that pissing virus, because I'm sick of hearing about it. But I thought your live stream was excellent. I thought your guests were superb. And I thought you had a really good chat on it. To sort of add, I guess, my 2 pence, because I was scheduled to come on that stream, but circumstances meant I didn't. To sort of add my 2 pence to that, I do fundamentally agree with a lot of what was said in that stream. But I do think we're all going to survive. We're all going to be all right. Especially if you're not in an at-risk group from any sort of infection or anything like that. Stay safe. You'll be fine. Your business, it might be tough at the moment. You might have to make some decisions as to, if you're relatively new at this and you've not got a massive, sort of track record behind you or anything like that, you may have to start thinking, do I need to get a part-time job? Things like that. But the great thing about working for yourself and the great thing about, running a business like this is you are empowered to be able to make those types of decisions. And it's only you that knows what is the best decision for your business at any given time. So you probably will hear a lot of different advice from a lot of different YouTube channels and a lot of different sources as to what you should do for your reselling business in the coronavirus outbreak and all of this business. But my ultimate advice on it is do what is right for your business, and the only person that knows what's going to be right for your business is you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And only you guys know how much money you got in the bank, because that's what it's going to boil down to. How long you can survive for. Everyone is different. Some people are living sort of week to week on their income. Some people have got more set aside. So yeah, absolutely right. Everyone is completely different. You can't just copy or go off what any of us are saying, myself included. It's just, you got to do your own thing and work it out. But if any of us can help at any time, if you ever want to message me, or I'm sure Andy as well, we're on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Instagram's probably the best way to message us, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty much the only way to message me, to be honest, because I'm not on any other social media, so it's probably the only way to message me.
Yeah, we're always happy to listen to anyone's queries or help or tips.
Just looking at some of the comments, there's a few people that are in your shoes today, my dear, who were saying they've had no sales days today. So maybe Monday morning, Monday's just a quiet day.
It's one of them, I say it almost every stream, and I said it to Andy before we came on, is that you've got to look at the sales across a longer period. You can't look at one day. Yeah. At the moment, it's extraordinary circumstances anyway, so things might not look normal. So you're just going to have to see how it goes. That's all you can do. You can't predict.
you can analyze and you can try and quantify things, and you can try and sort of look for the sources of problems and stuff like that as much as you like. But ultimately, if you can't find anything, there are always going to be those things, like you say, that are exceptions and that are going to throw things out of the window, in spite of your best laid plans and in spite of your kind of best preparation and planning and even your best reaction to a crisis. There are always going to be things that come along and throw a spanner in the works for you. How you handle that is much more important than the actual problem itself, quite often. You know, the actual problem itself is not really something you can do anything about, but how you handle it is definitely something, you know, that you can do something about. So by being reactive, by trying different things, like I said before about, you know, I'd never given offers before to anybody on items, on anybody watching items under £20. I did that and it got me some more sales. So yeah, admittedly, not a huge amount of profit, not a huge amount of sales volume, but a lot more than I had prior to sending the offers. So it's definitely worth, you know, trying to react as much as you can to these problems, but also being in the back of your mind, accepting that certain things are just completely out of your control, and in spite of all your best efforts, it's going to conspire against you. And I do think this whole malarkey with this virus is one of those things. Unfortunately, we can only control it so far, and we can only kind of make the best of it so much. Ultimately, the world has gone crackers over it, for better or worse, or, you know, whether they should have gone mental over it or not, whether you agree or disagree with that. But, you know, that is the situation we're in. The world's gone mad. People are valuing things that, you know, historically had no value, toilet paper and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a tough time. It's unprecedented in my lifetime. I can't ever remember, you know, I'm 35. I can't ever remember there being anything like this where, you know, the shelves are bare of stuff like that, products in the shops and stuff. So, you know, it is a crazy time. It's an unprecedented time, but it's temporary. As the comment on the screen says there from Lee Hopkins, it's temporary and we will get through it. We've just got to, stay positive, keep thrifting, keep ploughing at it.
And who'd have thought that spanner was a zombie apocalypse?
What?
A zombie apocalypse. I said, who would have thought the spanner in the works there would be a zombie apocalypse?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just random things, right? That, or of all the problems, right, that I foresaw in moving down to Devon and coming away from Manchester.
Yeah.
All the worries that I had, like, would I be able to find stuff? Would I be able to survive? The rent was high. How am I going to be able to afford to pay the rent? All the different problems. I did not think about the fact that a virus could strike down the entire world, and suddenly shops would close.
Why didn't you think of that?
But to think, like you said, it's unprecedented. To think that there, at some point in the next few weeks, shops might be shut, forced to close.
Yeah.
You know, high streets will be deserted. We might not even have a postal service at some point. You know, this is a reality of what might happen.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of possibilities. Yeah.
You know what? It's just crazy, isn't it?
It is.
It is, but we are in a fortunate situation where we do have savings to fall back on. That not that we have to do it, but for some people this could be catastrophic, couldn't it? At least we do have a little bit of wiggle room to get us through the next.
We've got enough, you know, to get us through a few months.
The next couple of months.
And this is where kind of, if anybody else is in that position as well, it's very important to have that kind of honest conversation with yourself as to, is this sustainable for me given the current climate? You know, am I doing the right thing by still ploughing into this full time, or is it better if I just go and get a little part-time job just to kind of have some regular income guaranteed, whatever? Let's say that's only a decision that you can make for yourselves, but you do need to have that kind of honest opinion, honest conversation with yourself in a way.
The problem is that if you're thinking about getting a job, is that people are being made redundant already. I mean, look at the airlines.
There is that. Yeah, there is that.
Virgin are asking people to go 2 months without a wage. There's other airlines who are saying we're going to have to make mass redundancies. So, and that's just the airline industry. What about all the other industries that are going to be badly affected? You know, hospitality, events, you know, pubs and all kinds of stuff are going to be affected.
Yeah, definitely.
And all before you know it, everyone's going to need a job, and there'll be no jobs to have.
This is true. Yeah, this is always a possibility as well.
Not that I'm wanting to scaremonger, but
no.
It's not scaremongering, is it? It's just that could be a natural progression with everything that's going on.
Yeah, it's just everything has a knock-on effect, and I kind of agree with. I think I mean, I don't want to get political because I'm not an expert on politics, but I kind of think our government are doing the best that they can with the decisions that they're making. And, you know, for example, everyone's saying, why aren't we shutting the schools? Well, can you imagine how much worse things could possibly get if you shut the schools? All of a sudden, all the kids are home. People can't go to work. That hasn't... Yeah. And the ramifications that go on and on and on.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, I think like on Saturday I was going out and massive gang of kids on my estate all hanging about in close proximity to each other anyway, which is exactly what kids will do and exactly what kids, you know, have done for centuries. So if you just chuck them all out of school, they're only going to all hang around together anyway. So closing the schools is kind of a bit of a what's the point option, really. But I do think on the other side of the coin to all this, as I was sort of touched on briefly before we came on, I do think we will, or certain people will start to see a bit of an uplift in some ways as things become more and more difficult to get out of the likes of China and the Far East. I think the likes of eBay sellers, if you've got certain items or you're selling certain items, I think you might, after a little while, start to see an uplift as it becomes more difficult to get stuff from the countries that traditionally manufacture it.
What kind of things do you think that will be on that list?
It's a tricky one to say exactly because I don't think I necessarily really deal in them. But you touched on it the other night on the live stream that you were doing with Damien and Peter, where you were talking about things where people are perhaps thinking about self-isolating and things like that. So, and we've had an example in the chat tonight of somebody selling jigsaws and things like that as well. So those types of things, potentially, they're going to certainly get a bit more demand attached to them. And a couple of the things that I sold over the weekend, I sort of thought, actually, maybe those types of things are in being bought with that type of mentality as well. Things like little cross-stitch sewing kits and stuff like that. I mean, it is kind of coming up to Easter anyway, but I sort of saw it as being a bit of a two-pronged possibility there. Obviously, if you're selling things like sanitary products and all of that type of stuff, then obviously they're probably going to be the most likely people to see some sort of uplift. I think perhaps the likes of me, who's quite heavy with clothing in my store, I think that might not see such an uplift because I don't know whether clothing is going to be a priority to people in this sort of climate or not. But I think it's going to be largely dependent on what people prioritize, and that's one of those really tricky things to quantify when you're based in the UK dealing with an international base of customers.
Yeah. It's hard to predict human behavior, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
What people will go for, and
like you said, who thought the first thing to be bulk bought would be toilet roll?
I know, it just came out of nowhere, that, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was one of those things as well. As soon as it went sort of viral, as soon as it went on the news and it got shared everywhere on social media and all of that lot, the problem just got worse.
Yeah.
That I don't think there were that many people panic buying toilet paper over here until all of the news reports came out over here about the panic buying in Australia. Yeah. Not that I'm blaming Australia for it or anything like that, but until we heard about that, I don't really think it was happening over here. And then as soon as it hit our media, we all did the usual kind of run with the crowd and do what everybody else is doing type attitude that seems to be the sort of mob mentality of the general public these days.
Hidden Gem has said, I know we shouldn't speculate. Well, whatever. But do you think it will ever affect sending items through Royal Mail or couriers? And what if it does? Personally, I think there's a real chance that if we end up in a situation where Italy is at the moment, that I think there's a real chance that Royal Mail and other couriers might shut down for a while. I think there's a real chance of it. And if it does, there's not a lot we can do about it.
Yeah, I think there is a possibility of that, certainly. I think one thing we've been to my knowledge anyway, one thing we've been relatively good at in this country is keeping kind of key services like postal services and stuff like that going through national crises, you know.
Yeah.
But whether that's going to be the case this time, because obviously we're talking about a communicable disease rather than something like, you know, for example, Second World War blitz mentality or something like that. We're talking about something that you can physically catch by contact with another person. So whether it will be different for this, I don't know. But there is certainly that chance that it's going to affect deliveries. It's going to affect, you know, couriers and Royal Mail potentially. But I think as long as you're working with your customers, and I think eBay will probably work with us a little bit on it as well, in terms of extending, you know, delivery times. Like again, I think this was mentioned on your stream the other night, that, you know, they'll probably go into Christmas mode, and they'll sort of extend the expected delivery times and things like that a little bit. So I do think eBay will work with us to a certain extent, and we should definitely work with eBay on it. But work with your customers as well. You know, there's no harm in, if you're sending an item out, or if you think that you're potentially going to be delayed sending an item out, or there's going to be a potential delay to the customer receiving the item after you've sent it, get in touch with them straight away and just let them know that, you know, obviously with the current international situation, blah, 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 you might have a delay on your delivery. And I genuinely think the overwhelming majority of people will be fine with that. There's not going to be, you know, a massive backlash against you for just being straight up and honest with people, with customers.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Joan says we have been asked not to go to cinemas, theatres, and restaurants now. Yeah, that was on today's news, wasn't it?
I think Joan's in Ireland.
Oh, is Joan in Ireland?
I think Joan's in Ireland.
Because they've
got that right, Joan?
They've got different rules at the moment, haven't they?
Yeah. It's only because I'm pretty sure someone wished a happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, right. Yes, I did see that. Just posted an item. Andrew says, I've just posted an item to Spain today. The post office were dubious about accepting it.
This is where your GSP comes in, I think. You know, I think in this sort of climate that we're in at the moment, I think if you're in a position, this isn't necessarily the best way to think about it, but if you're in a position where you can get it to the GSP hub and the rest of it's kind of on them, then, you know, I think that's the best sort of course of damage limitation in terms of international deliveries at the moment, is to use the GSP where you can, because you just got so much more protection and so much more cover against things either not arriving or arriving late or whatever.
I don't do a lot of my own international delivery. I have certain items, mainly those that go as like large letter. I've got some international postage on, but everything else is GSP. And I've got no real intention to change that at the minute.
I got it wrong. Joan's in London.
Oh.
Yeah, I GSP everything internationally. So, and I always have from day one, to be honest.
Carl said, a spokesman for Royal Mail said in the last century, over 50 million died with the Spanish flu, and they kept delivering.
Well, let's
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will.
I mean, at the end, even if it comes down to the blooming post people wearing full suits and masks and gloves, you know,
doing postal deliveries in an ambulance and a hazmat suit. Yeah,
there are ways around it.
Of course there are. Yeah.
Good advice, Andy. Honesty is the best policy. Sorry if the question was answered. I haven't had a chance to catch up. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
All right. Feel free to throw anything into the mix, guys. And you know, if it's been answered already, we can answer it again. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Cookie is so cute, apparently.
Yeah, Tori, she's not sat on your knee licking your hand. It's not so cute from this angle.
And burping in your face.
I'm burping in your face.
Oh yeah, that's disgusting. Look, Mum, I'm hustling.
Hey, Drew and Sarah.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Mel's in as well.
I'm Mel. Well, hey.
I think Cookie's gonna have to go down.
Go on, Cook.
Getting a representation from the Antipodean reselling machines.
How are things to those in Australia? Because I've not really heard too much. I've not really been watching any streams over the last week. I've been too busy with the house and everything, but I'm catching up now this week. But what's the situation in Australia with all this? I haven't seen anything. Have you seen anything, Andy?
I've seen a few bits and pieces sort of on Instagram and on streams and stuff like that. I think they're in very much the same boat that we are for the most part, from what I've seen. You know, it's inconsistent. You know, some people are having excellent days, but a crap week, or vice versa. I think it's very much the same across the board from what I've seen. It's just so inconsistent, and it's more unpredictable than it's ever been. How it's going to be going forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if any of our sort of Aussie friends in there have a bit of a bit more insight onto that, by all means, we can chat about that. No problem at all.
I haven't seen two Aussie thrifters yet.
Well,
Is it
no.
too early for his bus ride?
He'll be on. It's too early. He's only brushing his teeth or something at the moment. Tross is in. Carl is popped in. Hi all. Sorry I'm late. It's all right.
So are we.
We'll
You're forgiven. It's all good.
Yeah, we'll let you off. No problem. What's that?
Another loopy lass.
Another loopy lass. Hello, everybody. And you know what? I've come all the way down here. I don't know if anyone saw my Instagram, but I went in a charity shop today because it's still open around here. And I picked up a bloody Wigan Warriors. Wigan Warriors, what is it? A tracksuit top. Yeah. So yeah, I still can't leave it behind.
No, you can leave the North, but the North never leaves you.
Yeah, well, I think the accent's the problem with that one.
I got talking to a couple of my local charity shops today. Seem nice enough people, and they're all dog friendly as well. So I was walking the dog. I stuck my head in and said, are the dogs allowed in? Yeah. So I went in with the dog, had a look round.
Those type of environments as well, those sort of small villages and stuff like that, I imagine it's probably a really good avenue to sort of build that good relationship with your charity shops and stuff when they know what you do for a living and they know how much you're likely to spend when you go in there. I can't imagine in a small village there's too many sort of standard charity shop shoppers that are spending as much money as a eBay reseller would. So I think it's definitely worth getting in with them.
Yeah. Mel says, I think it's quiet on the eBay front. It's hard for me to tell because it took so much time off for listing in February. Well, according to your stacks, Mel, you seem to be doing pretty well. Your stacks were a lot bigger than mine. Do you know about that, stacks?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
She does show us your stacks.
Oh, yes. I do know what you're talking about. Tell a lie.
But it's, as you were saying as well, in a live stream that Mel did a week or so ago now with Bron Bowman, they were talking about authenticity and being genuine online and stuff like that. And it's a really interesting stream, and it's definitely worth going and watching. I can't remember off the top of my head, though, if that's on Mel's channel or if it's on Bron's channel. So just check them both out and you'll find it on there, definitely. But they're talking about the importance of authenticity when building your brand online and stuff like that. And, part of what Mel was saying there is, she might have these big stacks of parcels going out, but it doesn't necessarily mean that she's making a small fortune on everything that she sells. And, she was quite sort of open and upfront about that. And, that was a really good stream and a really positive thing to sort of hear from somebody who, from an outward perception, you would think, God, the amount of parcels she's sending every day or whatever, she must be raking it in. But for her to actually turn around and say, well, no, I'm kind of playing a bit of a volume game to a certain extent as well. There are certain items that you make a killing on, but for the most part, it's a volume game. And to just be that open and transparent about it, I think that's really refreshing. And I think, that's something that we need to sort of be looking at more. I mean, not us, because we're quite open and transparent anyway with what we're talking about, but the UK sort of community in general, I think having that openness and transparency, we can build a bit more of a community where we can legitimately all sort of help each other out, and it's not all about us versus them or you versus me sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to, when you see on Instagram's are worse for this, is when you see like some of the Amazon sellers and they're putting their numbers, they put their numbers on. Oh, I've done, $5 grand's worth of sales this week.
Yeah.
But what you don't,
you've made 5p a unit on it.
What's your percentage of profit on that? And normally with Amazon, certainly the big Amazon sellers, they're working on much, much smaller profits than what we do as sort of eBay sellers, because they're doing volume and, you know, they're shipping it in, forgetting about it with FBA, and they just sit and let it sell, which is fine. If that's the model that you're trying to do, that's great. But it doesn't tell the full story, does it?
No, that's it. And I think, you know, having that sort of blended kind of average of having, you know, some items that you make a good profit on and some items that go out consistently and regularly, but maybe don't make as much money. I think it's important to have that balance because, you know, as I'm finding at the moment, like I'm not a high volume seller particularly. I tend to sell, you know, a smaller number of items, but by and large, I'll kind of make anywhere from 5 to 10 times my investment on them. But what I'm finding now, particularly, you know, since all of this business has kicked off, is that my high profit, high ticket items, they're still getting watches and they're still getting attention, but I'm sending out offers, and where people would normally be biting on those types of offers and things like that, they're not doing so much, but they are biting when I sent out the offers on the lower value items. So I think I need to personally look at having a few more bits and pieces in my store that are kind of a bit more volume driven for times like this, where that's what's in demand, rather than, you know, like a vintage typewriter for 250 quid or something like that. Yeah,
because those kind of things are like luxury items, aren't they?
Yeah, and collectors and stuff like that. And you know, people have probably got bigger priorities at the moment than adding to their collections and stuff. So
if someone sees something that they fancy for, say, 20 quid, like you were saying, and you send them an offer for 17, 18 pound, they might take it because they don't see it as, they can justify it easier, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But
if you've got a typewriter up for 100 quid, they're like, oh, don't know how things are going to go in the next
do I really need that?
Is my job okay? You know, so maybe the lower value stuff is maybe that's a good point.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's, you know, certainly worth looking at the moment, especially. Excuse me for 2 seconds, guys. I'm sorry.
No worries. Carl OB says, do you think local Facebook marketplace sales might pick up as people may not trust the post? I don't know. What do you think?
Possibly. I mean, you're saying about not trusting the post, but if something happens with the postal services or the delivery services, then certainly I think Facebook Marketplace then may have a boost, because obviously, you know, it's all but then customer driven, isn't it, for delivery and pickup and whatever.
Really though, you've got to think, is it better to post when this virus can't live for long on products or items? But if you go picking something up from someone's house, that's more risky than the postal service, isn't it? Because you're you're putting yourself in contact with people. So, you know, it's hard to tell again, isn't it, to predict, but it's more risky, isn't it? Facebook Marketplace is more risky than your postal service.
It is more risky.
I'd say anything from a transmission point of view definitely is going to be more risky when you're face to face with somebody, definitely, because this virus, I think this virus is only active if it's not got a host for about 8 hours. So if it's on a surface or something like that, and you pick it up within 8 hours, then it is active, and you will, you know, likely be infected by it. But after that 8 hour period, from what I can tell, and don't quote me on this because I've just been sort of reading bits and pieces here and there, but from what I can tell, I think this virus is inert on outside of a host after about 8 hours. So sending something through the post, by the time it's left your, you know, even if let's just say for the sake of argument that 8 hour period's correct, if you're infected and you've coughed in an envelope before you've sent it, say, by the time that gets to the person that it's going to, the chances are the virus is going to be inert anyway. So the risk is definitely massively decreased by sending stuff through the post versus meeting face to face.
Yeah.
I do think it could see a boost though, because it might not be the safest option using Facebook Marketplace, But what I'm saying is, if we start to see issues with delivery companies not doing stuff, and them seeing a dip in being able to send things that way, I think people will fall back onto Facebook Marketplace as a way to still sell, and keep businesses running. Yeah,
that's true as well, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Yeah, absolutely. There'll always be something that there's always that kind of contingency almost that everybody will sort of default back to. I think when if something does go completely pear-shaped with eBay or whatever, as you say, I think people will fall back onto methods that are more accessible, because obviously I think more people have got a Facebook account than an eBay account, so they're probably going to look at methods that are more accessible. They're going to probably, I think, even though what I've just said about transmitting the virus is face-to-face versus through the post is one thing, I do think there's perhaps a perception that it will be safer to go and just pick something up from somebody. I think people might actually get that into their heads somehow, that would be a safer way to do things. So yeah, I don't think it's out of the question that you'll see an uplift on things like Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree or Spock or those types of marketplaces as well. Yeah, it's a funny one.
Adrian said he's sent out some offers on his big ticket item, the horse racing game. See, that's something that, yes, it's a luxury item, but it could also be something that someone can do.
Yep, definitely.
Keep people occupied. So I hope it goes. I hope it sells.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I've not seen anybody find that horse racing derby game for a good long while now. So fair play, Mr. Diggs, for grabbing that one. I think, spot on.
Andrew says, I'm going to continue to wield his ban hammer, my ban hammer, on anyone I find profiteering from people's distress. Yeah.
I mean, it's very much one of those things where people are just going to do it. It's human nature. Unfortunately, that's kind of the society that we've built for ourselves in many respects as human beings. There's always going to be people that are looking to take advantage of a tragedy. There's always going to be people looking to cash in on things that, as they happen. We've talked on streams before, or certainly you've talked on streams before about, the price of stuff going up after people have died and things like that. And it's very much the same sort of mentality. It's kind of profiteering in a way from that person's death, but that's sort of almost a societal norm, unfortunately.
It's seeing a opportunity in the market, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And some people are going to take that as an opportunity, and they're going to do business as they normally do, but focus more on that area. And other people are just going to go mental and literally go at it with the profiteering aspects of things and the profiteering thought process. Like there was a guy in the news today that had bought something like, was it something like 170,000 bottles of hand sanitizer or something like that across his whole state in the US. Him and his brother had travelled. I think him and his brother had travelled across the entire state and bought up all the hand sanitizer, and they're now getting investigated by some body of some description because of this sort of price gouging that they've been doing on it. So it happens, and it's always going to happen because unfortunately that's the nature. I get where you're coming from,
Andrew. And in this particular case, I agree that people should have access to this stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely they should. Absolutely. There's no question that they should have access to it, and there's no question that everybody should have the same access to all of this sort of stuff, to essentials. But the harsh reality of it, unfortunately, is that there are people in the world who see that as an opportunity to make some money, and they remove that ability for everybody to be able to get the things that they need and get the essentials, because they have that more sort of selfish mentality towards making their money.
Well, it'll be fine, because when the whole blooming world collapses, they'll have nowhere to spend the money anyway. So
that's it. Yeah,
they're just shooting themselves in the foot with all this money they're trying to make.
Yeah, that's it.
Toysaurus Toys said, sold lots of consoles, video games, jigsaws, CDs, DVDs. Yeah.
I like how clever that name is after Toys R Us went bust. I do like how clever that name is after Toys R Us went bust. That's cool.
You know what? Yeah. I didn't even clock it I just read Toysaurus Toys.
I don't know if that's the intent behind it or not, but that's certainly how I read it. That's quite cool.
It's good that. Now that you've mentioned it, I see it.
You'd be no good at catchphrase, would you say?
Oh,
what
God,
you say?
no.
Say what you say.
Stuff like that. Anne Widdicombe slammed for claims coronavirus will be like AIDS, not as devastating as feared. Oh dear. Not the best thing to say, is it?
The thing is, I think a lot of people, politicians, media outlets, even just, the likes of normal people like me and you and everybody, I think we've all got a bit of an opinion on it. And I think we've all got a bit of an opinion that comes from different levels of understanding and education behind these types of things as well. So, yeah, people are going to say things that are just completely stupid and controversial. Some people are going to say things that are controversial just for the sake of being controversial because they themselves are kind of paling into irrelevance. So to sort of stay relevant, they've got to say something controversial to keep their name out there. But I think it's just a case of, I always think whatever happened to sticks and stones, what people are saying, it's just words that are coming out of somebody's mouth if you listen to it or don't, really.
Exactly. Haggis Lover says story cassettes, CDs and puzzles are doing well.
Yep.
Everything that we don't sell.
Yeah, I don't sell any of this stuff. I'll tell you what I've got tons and tons of DVDs and Blu-rays.
Need to get them listed.
I'm gonna have to, I think.
You know when we've had chats previously and people have said, what are the best things to sell? We can now say, well, just in case there's another outbreak of something or other, make sure you have plenty of board games and stuff to sell. Yeah,
that seems to be where the mentality's going a little bit.
Mel's got a good point here. The good thing about volume sales is that they may not be the biggest dollars, but they keep the store active, and consistent sales bring more sales.
Yeah,
that's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Can't argue with that at all. There's definitely a lot to be said for a volume game as much as there is for a lower volume, higher profit model.
Literally, the dog has fell asleep on my knee. It's like having a baby.
They just turn into dead weight, don't they, when they fall asleep as well? They're just like, it's just like a sack of potatoes or something on your knee. It's
Mr. Diggs, I think if car boots and charity shops shut down, then why not look at your own stuff in the house and sell if need be? That's where most of us started. I mean, like I said on Saturday, on our live stream on Saturday, I've got quite a big death pile. I've got boxes and boxes of stuff that is unlisted. So I'm happy to work my way through that. I'm going to use it as an opportunity to get those numbers down. And it's all saleable stuff. I've got tons of DVDs and Blu-rays that I could list. I would bundle them together. I would put like 10 DVDs together to make some kind of value on it.
And to be fair, we could do with the space.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I think, I think the last time we spoke on a live stream, I was kind of lamenting the fact that I had a death pile for the first time ever. And I've still got a bit of it, to be fair, but actually now I kind of see the benefit of it in this sense, because obviously it gives me stuff to list where I don't have to go out and about so much and, risk sort of contact with the great unwashed, for want of a better way of putting it.
We have gas stations that are out of gas, for goodness sakes. Where are people planning on going when they're supposed to stay home?
Yeah. That's a real priority in an isolationist bloody culture, isn't it? Let's fill up on all the petrol and then people's mentality. It never ceases to amaze me. Stuff like that. I just don't get it at all.
Yeah, but in every zombie film, people jump in a car and drive off to somewhere remote, don't they? So maybe that's what people are thinking of doing.
Yeah, maybe.
Hills away from everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, too much Walking Dead and stuff like that. Everybody's seen. You'll see buses going down the road with all spikes on the front of them and stuff eventually as well. Yeah.
We didn't have a Walking Dead wedding for no reason. We were preparing.
That was a sort of dress rehearsal, was it? Fair enough. Oh, man.
I'm just trying to let me get down to the bottom of the chat.
Yeah, I normally deal with the chat, but my hands are full.
Andrew's got zero concerns about running out of stock. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Andrew.
You'll be selling his stock to us all.
The size of your stock, you'll be killing it in the next few weeks.
He'll be the only reseller left selling stuff.
Queen is back from netball. All matches cancelled for the rest of the season.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, they're cancelling everything now, and they're doing it for the right reasons. I get that totally, but like, I guess this is a bit of a bias from my perspective. But I was looking at it the other day, and they've cancelled the Formula One. Now that seems like a really stupid thing to cancel for me. Now, obviously, I am biased because I'm a motorsport fan anyway. But they've done a lot of other sports and stuff without a crowd in the stadium. So they could quite easily do that with the Formula One. And similarly, you're talking about guys that are flying around a track, sat in a car on their own with a big helmet on. So the chances of them actually transmitting a virus between each other or their teams or anything like that, it's pretty slim. Plus, these guys are massively fit athletes, so their immune systems are just absolutely banging. So I don't quite understand why they've seen to cancel an event like that. But I guess, it's in the greater interest.
All the money that they're going to lose.
Yeah. Yeah,
they'd rather not have it on than potentially lose all that money that all the people come in, all the potential sponsorship issues that it might bring up. That'll be what it is. It's just down to that. They're not even thinking about the virus and all that stuff.
That's just true.
They can't run a race without an audience.
Nope, this is true.
Crazy.
Hidden Gem said all grassroots football has been cancelled now. Hasn't told the kids yet.
Yeah, well, they've cancelled everything else, haven't they? So it doesn't surprise. I wonder what they're going to do. I mean, are you a football fan, Andy?
Not particularly. I mean, obviously, I'm sort of, I'm from Manchester, so you can't not be vaguely in tune with football living around here. But it's not, it's not kind of, it doesn't light me fire sort of thing.
Yeah, it just interests me as to how they're going to do this now, what they're going to do with the rest of the season, the football season, certainly the Premier League or every league that's been abandoned, basically. So,
oh no.
Well, I think from again just listening to some of what's going on with sport and stuff in Australia from some of the guys on the Australian streams, I think they're playing a lot of like the Aussie rules, the AFL games. I think are being played behind closed doors with empty stadiums and stuff like that. So they are still. For the sake of the sport, they are still carrying on, but they're not obviously having a crowd in the stadium. So I guess they must have to do something because there's fixtures and stuff, and the season's only so long, and this and that and the other. They can't extend the season, so they must have to do something for it.
I know. Linda and Gaz have put something on here that they've had to self-isolate.
Oh, bloody hell!
So is that because have you come down with symptoms?
Have you just got the symptoms, or are you confirmed as having something, or what? Let us know. Let us know what's happened there. Sorry to hear that.
Well,
God, DBG saying Ireland is.
To rely on.
I was going to say at least we are an online community. They can't self-isolate.
Well, that's it.
Each other.
This is a great thing in many respects because it's bringing us all together and we can socialize without having to be distant from each other and so in many ways things like this are a great sort of, if we are going to end up in a position where we're all potentially on lockdown and stuff like that, things like this is a great outlet for everybody, like especially with your guys' channel because the chat gets so involved and stuff like that, and everybody, you'll always pick up on what people are saying in the chat, and you'll always kind of make sure that if somebody's got a valid opinion, it gets heard and stuff like that. And I think that's really important. And I think that's going to be really beneficial for if we do end up in a situation where we are all locked down, that we can have these little sort of events like this where, people just jump in and out. Like the other night with your stream with Damien and Peter, where Peter just sort of jumped in towards the end and things like that. Little informal sort of sessions like that are great. And I think it's good for morale as much as anything as well for, people that maybe are isolated.
Absolutely, yeah. Peter Ray said his indoor bowls, my indoor bowls rest of season, only a month and a half left, but being discussed to cancel. It's just so annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess like bowls does have a sort of older demographic as well, so they probably are a bit more of an at-risk kind of group to a certain extent. So
I'm just looking here. Rebecca says,
my word. Yeah, the online deliveries are now.
Are they stopping on that online
They're not
deliveries?
stopping them. They're just obviously the demand for them is that high
Right.
now because
you can't book in.
people are self-isolating. It's like a fortnight before they've got any deliveries and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, bloody nightmare, isn't it?
So this is what all the things that we have in place on a regular basis. They're not designed for the sort of impact that they're now getting with the amount of influx of people needing to use them.
Mild symptoms. Gaz has a high temperature, sore throat, and bad cough.
Well, stay safe and feel better, guys. I'm sure you'll be.
Get through.
I'm sure you'll be all right ultimately, but you know, better to be safe than sorry.
At least you've got us to keep you entertained. I say that with one hand patting the dog because I can't do anything else. I'm just praying that she doesn't break wind because that would just be the end of the pair of us.
Yeah, stream over.
When she does, you know about it. Rumour has it Premier League will not be played to finish the season, so struck off. There's so many ramifications just by the Premier League saying, or even the entire league saying this season is now finished. And do they end it positionally where it is now, or do they roll it back to the start of the season and say we start back from there? I mean, there's legal ramifications as well, isn't there? Because there's clubs who would have got promoted and relegated who will lose so much money. What about all the smaller clubs like from League One down? They're at risk of going bust.
Yeah.
Because they literally work from match to match. They are, if they had a crowd if they had no crowd for 1 or 2 matches, they are under.
Yeah, that's it. Because they're like going locally for well, I say us, but you'll know what I mean. Like the likes of Stockport County or somebody like that, they don't have any big name sponsors that are throwing millions into the pot. They rely on their gate fees for games and stuff. So it's going to be a tricky one.
We have been advised not to contact NHS or be tested unless symptoms become non-manageable.
I've heard that so many times.
Right.
Yeah.
Hidden Gems says 1 player from each team competes in a Hunger Games competition or Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Premier League.
Let's just turn all sporting events into a battle royale. That would be amazing.
Somebody said, I haven't got a clue where it was now. It was probably Twitter, because this is the kind of comment that gets put on Twitter, is what they should do is every remaining match in the Premier League, whatever the league, they should just do each match as a penalty shootout, and then take the points from the winners of the penalty shootouts and then add that to the league. I just thought...
the Royal Rumble definitely sounds more entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be on board for a bit of that. Yeah, definitely.
Probably at the state of mind that people are in at the moment, I probably wouldn't give them suggestions like that.
My mum had to isolate about a month ago. A doctor had it at Cardenas Medical Centre. Her and my grandma went for an appointment. Luckily, they're fine. Oh, that's good.
That was about a month ago.
Right.
Dodged a bullet.
Oh yeah, well, glad everything's worked out fine there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if that's got to be a massive risk. Like if a doctor or somebody's got it, because obviously doctors are going to be seeing so many more people that potentially have got it at the moment as well. Yeah, that's got to be.
But this is why they're literally anybody that has any sort of symptoms or colds or anything, they're literally telling nobody to go into like the surgeries and stuff like that to try and prevent it from spreading.
Rob says, what happens if a stronger strain of the virus comes next year? Already airlines and businesses are struggling after a week.
But this is what Damien was saying, wasn't it? Damien was saying this on the Saturday night stream. He was saying it's fine and dandy. We've got all this going on now where they're saying potentially it's going to be 10 weeks till we hit peak and then things should start to improve and we should get a vaccine, He said, but then what happens when it comes around next winter and we get the next bout of it, and because it's like the flu, isn't it? The strain changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Year on year. So we might not even have a vaccine fully in place by next winter.
We've had coronaviruses as a group of viruses for literally years and years and years. They've been documented, they've been, studied and written up in medical journals and stuff like that. I can pretty much guarantee that everybody in the chat at some point or another in their life, when you've thought you've had a cold or a flu, you've probably had a coronavirus at some stage. But it's just this current iteration of it, this COVID-19, that is proving to be an absolute bugger. And like you say, next year, it may well be that something worse comes along, but similarly, it may only be that something comes along that is very slightly mutated form of what is here now, and actually we just fight it in exactly the same way. So it is quite important to be mindful of what might happen down the line, but it's also sort of important to have the balance of thinking, well, that might not happen as well. We've got to kind of keep it in your thoughts, definitely, but don't let it rule your decisions, because it might never come to fruition.
Well, I think Damien was talking of it in a sense in terms of like learning from what we're going through now and prepping for just in case sort of thing. So making sure because Damien doesn't have a death pile because he's not been going very long. So obviously that's where he was saying, like, if he can't go out to buy stock, this is where he's going to struggle because he hasn't got a death pile to dip into. So, if his learning curve will be to always maybe have a little bit of something in reserve for if, it doesn't even have to be a pandemic, virus, does it? It could be a number of different things.
Oh God, there's all sorts of
winter where we're snowed in for 3 weeks, couldn't it? It could be anything.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, we've had in the last few years, we've had stuff like unprecedented flooding and snow and, all sorts of different weathers and stuff like that as well. And all of these things could quite easily become a factor that, you need to react to with your business. So definitely, I'm not preaching don't be prepared. Absolutely, be prepared for everything. I'm like, if I lived in the States or somewhere like that, I'd be one of these nutters that lives up in the mountains, buried in a cave somewhere. I'm very much of the prepper mentality in that sense. But I do think don't let it overtake you completely. Be mindful of it, but don't be worried about it to the extent that it's kind of making you lose sleep or making you struggle with decisions for your business or decisions for your life or stuff like that. It's very possible that we're going to be worrying about nothing. Similarly, it's very possible that we, our worries are founded, but we just don't know until it happens. So it's kind of having a balanced view of things is very, very important.
But like you said, this is the first time in our lifetimes that we've ever seen anything this severe. Sort of take over. So you've kind of got to keep it in that sort of a perspective that, once they get this under control, the chances are it will just bimble along like every other virus that is out there that, people catch, people are fine. There's a flu jab for it and whatever else.
The thing is, right, now this might sound really crass, and I don't mean it that way at all, is that there are so many things that we can all catch that will kill us. Or that can kill us. There's a million different cancers and everything that can kill us. But we can't always combat everything because we'd all be living until we're 100 until old age gets us. And that's not the natural order of things, is it? Because that's not our natural world.
You're getting deep now.
Well, it is.
I kind of agree with that viewpoint, to be honest with you. I do think, we've kind of pursued this thing of wanting to live forever as a kind of species. We want to live, really, really ridiculous long times and have this massive long legacy. But I don't think we're really sort of set up or programmed to actually be like that. I think, we're the same as any other animal and we have a finite lifespan, and we shouldn't be trying to push our luck with that, because that's where a lot of problems can come into it, again. And a lot of these things, like, again, going deep and very, very speculative on what I'm saying here, but people are living longer So they live into older ages where their immune systems are more compromised. They're catching viruses like this. They're taking antibiotics for them. Those viruses are then building up a resistance to the antibiotics. So from that kind of thing, as a root cause of some of these modern viruses, could very well be the fact that we're just living longer and we're kind of pushing our luck a little bit in that sense. You know, there's all sorts to it. You could absolutely drive yourself insane trying to understand it all from start to finish. And this is kind of my big push with this whole virus is be careful, be mindful. You're never going to understand it completely. You know, we're never going to know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like you say, there's any number of other things that could happen tomorrow. You could step out your front door, your bloody roof slates fall on your head, and that's you done, or something like that. You know, there's no virus that can cause things like that. So be as mindful of this virus as you would be about any other hazard in your life, and you'll be fine. And you know, this whole advice that's going around of wash your hands and don't sneeze on people and cover your face and all of this lot, that's pretty solid advice when there isn't an international viral pandemic. You know, we shouldn't really need to be telling people to wash your hands and not sneeze on people and stuff like that. And I think, to be honest with you, if we are needing to tell people that, then natural selection should sort of take care of the rest. You know, if people aren't washing their hands when they're supposed to be and they get ill, yeah, okay, you know, in the bag, off you go.
You know what I said to Annabelle this afternoon, we had Sky News on before we came on, and we were just catching up on the latest, just in case Boris Johnson or whatever had brought something new in and we needed to discuss it on tonight's show. But
was that why we was watching it?
That's why I was watching it. Okay. But I can't believe, and this is a conspiracy theorist in me, right? I cannot believe that it's the year 2020, right? And we are being struck down by
some mystical virus,
a weird sort of potentially deadly flu virus. And we have got, of all the medical professionals across the world, all the billions of pounds that we spend and we pump into research and to try and stop these kind of things, vaccines and all that stuff. I cannot believe it's the year 2020 and there isn't a single person out there who knows how to sort this thing out
quickly.
I just don't get it.
Yeah,
I can't get my head around that. I think there must be. And I mean, they decide that they're going to,
and surely we're at a point now where it can't be a money thing.
Yeah,
surely it cannot be. We've got it, but you can't afford it because nobody's going to be able to afford it if they don't put a stop to it.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I mean, my theory on this whole thing, to be honest with you, while we're doing conspiracy theories, I'll try not to go on for another hour just about all my conspiracy theories on this, but in the main, I actually think this is more an exercise in control and isn't actually anything to do with a virus at all. I think what's happened is over time, as we've kind of, as a society, we've become much more skeptical and much more questioning of conventional news media. So we tend to go on to sort of social media and things like that and share news and share information that way, rather than getting it from a centralized source or kind of a government mandated news agency or anything like that. I think because we've become so much more skeptical of that, I do genuinely think that they're looking for other avenues to sort of control and spread information. And I think this whole thing with this virus has been more of an exercise in how much information can we spread through social media that will have this control over society that we used to get by spreading things through the conventional news media. I think that's perhaps, from just my opinion, I think that's perhaps more what it's about than the actual virus aspect of it in itself. I think it's more of a kind of information control and influence type exercise.
I really don't disagree with you. I think there's something fishy not right with it all. I really do.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I think we better get another question from there before you two go into
aliens. Yeah. Before we get the tinfoil hats out. Yeah. Before we get the tinfoil hats out, let's see what chat got to say.
This is for all for all the 55 people watching, right? If all of a sudden one of us gets bumped off tonight, right? No,
we were getting close.
We were close.
Apparently, it was the virus.
You see anybody in a blacked out car parked at the end of your drive, Chris? Worry.
I know. Yeah, Mel was saying that her and Bron need to start thinking differently about death piles. I said a few weeks ago that death piles was the wrong term for it, and I think like reserve stock is what it actually is.
No, it doesn't
I've always been pretty anti the phrase death pile, to be honest with you as well. I've always thought of a death pile as being like you broke, you buy something and it's broke, or you buy, something and it's fake or something like that, then it kind of goes on your death pile rather than, I think what we term a death pile is quite right. It's more like an unrealized profit pile, really, rather than a death pile.
Stephanie's got a good point, and we've already discussed this, me and Annabelle. I know that banks have said about people with mortgages that they might give them a bit of room, but what about like us? We're renting now. We don't. Well, I actually still have a mortgage as well at the moment, so that's not good. But what do people do with rented accommodation?
Yeah, tricky. Yeah, I mean, I'm in that sense, I'm quite lucky because I rent privately.
Yeah,
and I actually rent from family members privately, so it's not too bad in terms of, if I'm in a position where I can't pay the rent today, I can pay it tomorrow, or I can pay it, the day after, sort of thing. So I'm very, very lucky in that sense. But I totally appreciate that it's, with other things like my utilities and stuff like that, they've not been very, they've not sent any communications out or anything to say, we'll give you a bit of leeway or anything like that. So, I've still got to pay my bills. I've still got to pay, utilities and internet and broadband and all of that business. So
the thing is, at some point, someone has to pay for that bit of wiggle room, and it has to be paid for by someone. And if like companies start saying, oh, you don't have to pay for the next few months. Well, I know there's big conglomerate companies and they've got loads of money, but they still have thousands of people to pay their employment for. So if we're not paying our bills to them, they can't then pay people to work for them. So they'll start laying people off. So probably not the answer that people want to hear.
No, but it's kind of rooted in reality, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Adrian says that the human race is good at one thing: it's overcoming major events and adapting, which is true. We do that, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. No, I wouldn't argue with that.
On the opposite side of Andrew's comment about all these people that are trying to profit from what's going on, I've also noticed over, especially mainly Facebook, but there's also a lot of the opposite going on, where there's a lot of groups now being formed, contingency plans. People in their own communities are putting contingency plans in place to look after people that are being self-isolated. There's an Ivy Bridge one where we moved to that I've joined, and there's literally people just putting on there, they're offering dog walking services, little things that you probably wouldn't think about. But if you're self-isolating, how do you get your dog
definitely.
out?
Yeah, definitely.
To pick up prescriptions for people that need medication. There was a vet on there saying, like, if you need any treatment for your dog, they're happy to do door-to-door service. There's so many things people to do. Shopping. There was one guy who's got access to 2 big warehouses, 2 big like
does he want some of my stock?
No, not warehouses. What do you call them where they have like cash and carries?
Oh, right.
He's got access to 2 big cash and carries. So he was like, obviously he was kind of like, people need to be reasonable here because, I'll be using my time. But he said, I'm happy to go and buy you stuff you can't find at the supermarket. Happy to do that for you and, drop it off. And I just thought, it does bring out that other side as well. Yes, it brings out the crapping people, the ones that want to profit from it.
Yeah.
But you've got all these people in the community that are kind of going, hang on, we've got a major problem here. What can we do to help? And then you've got everybody going, well, I'm the least likely to end up with this because I don't have any underlying conditions. I'm fit and healthy. I'm happy to, to put myself out there for the greater good. And I think it's amazing. It's amazing.
I think it definitely, there's nothing like a big tragedy or a big event like this to kind of bring out the best in the good people and the worst in the not so good people, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think, I've thought this for many years as kind of on a sort of a bit of a commentary on society in general, if you like. But I think historically, like in sort of our parents' generations, let's say, I think the overwhelming majority of people were kind of good-hearted, positively motivated people. But I think as time's gone on, I think that balance has switched and people have become fundamentally a little bit more out for themselves and a little bit more kind of, what would the word be? What's that?
Selfish?
Yeah, just selfish. Yeah, selfish will do. Selfish will do. I think I was looking for a fancier word, but I think selfish is probably quite right. I think it's just kind of where we've come to as a point is that sort of the majority of people now, it might not be an overwhelming majority, but the majority of people now seem to be more towards that side of things than they do on that kind of, okay, we've got a problem, so let's all pull together and solve the problem, rather than let's all, see what we can get out of this and sod everybody else kind of mentality.
I wouldn't say 100% agree with that. I do think that the better people, we're still the majority. Yes, we might be on a lower level and it might not be as obvious. People on a day-to-day basis might not go out of their way to help you, the next door neighbour or whatever else, which is fine because you're not doing any wrong if you're just kind of bimbling along. Yeah. But I do believe when it comes to situations like this, the good people definitely outweigh. I think it's a minority of people that are the ones that will end up, like you said, doing the bulk buying and, things like when the riots came round, it was only a majority of people that were doing the looting and causing the issues.
Minority.
A minority. Did I say
everyone was right?
Yeah. No, it was only a minority of people.
Probably majority around our way, to be fair, when you lived up here. It probably was a majority for us, but...
But no, I do believe that.
I think
society in general is good. I think when you look at stuff now on social media and you go through, if you're sad like me and you'll sit and read through 1,000 comments on a post, most people are of the same opinion in terms of like this bulk buying is just ridiculous.
Yeah. And definitely. I think there is a very broad consensus of opinion that this is just absolute madness, especially when it comes to things like toilet paper and stuff like that. The thing that I really don't get about the whole toilet paper thing, actually, especially in the UK, like everywhere I've ever lived, the bathroom and the toilet's not been a separate room. It's always been one, bathroom and toilet combined room. So surely, worst case scenario, if you've not got any toilet paper, you can just jump straight in the shower.
It's going.
Yeah, but I just don't get the kind of
potentially, yeah.
B-Day.
Yeah, but I know it's not the same everywhere in the world because there's some countries that think we're weird for having a combined bathroom and toilet, and I get that. But like in the UK, why are we hoarding toilet paper when most of us have pretty much got that option? Worst case scenario.
Well, if you want to go down that route, you don't need anything disposable either, do you? It can just be something that can be
washed. Yeah, I suppose not. Really. If you wanted to take it to its extreme, I guess. Yeah, no, I'd go with that, Bell. To be fair, yeah.
Nappies called
Terry's nappies.
Anyway, let's just see what the chat's saying. Damien says one thing I've not seen mentioned is about council tax. Normally we pay over 10 months. Worth asking if you can pay. I've been given the option 10 or 12 already because I rung South Hams Council is what the council is here. So I've registered with them obviously for council tax this week, and they just gave me the option 10 months or 12. So I just went for 12. So spread
it out a bit more. Sorry guys, I have to excuse me again just for 2 seconds there.
No worries, give me a chance to catch up.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, we are way behind. Check out South Korea's response and treatment. What are they doing? Like electrocuting people or something? Oi! No. Oh, she's got Kermit.
Oh, right.
Bloody hell. Dog's got a new toy. Yeah, Cooks. Go.
It's because the over it short may pass away that there is more folk that die with the flu every year. Yeah, I did believe that.
I really hate this chat.
I do believe if statistics are correct at the moment, I was of the same sort of ilk that there's more people die of flu than there is of this coronavirus per year, and you know the whole but we don't hear about all that, blah blah blah. But I do believe that if it continues at the rate it's going, it will be quite a lot higher, the mortality rate.
Yeah.
From it.
No doubt in that. It's not just a flu, as some people are saying.
I think at the beginning that's kind of how it was. And I like I said, I was the same. I perceived it as, oh, there's more people that die.
I think we all did, didn't we?
And you know,
yeah,
just
definitely.
because they don't report it. But I think potentially what they're trying to make people realise is, yes, it's not fatal to the majority of people, but if you don't get it under control, then the fatality rate could be seriously high, couldn't it?
Tori's singing from our hymn sheet here. She says, "Who's not to say there isn't already a vaccine?" I'm with you on this. Yeah, serious to God, I am.
I can't understand how when we're getting to the this economic crisis where the whole bloody thing could just come crashing down around our ears.
But some people
could hold this back.
Some people would be quite happy for that to happen.
There's
stuff to gain from this.
Yeah, definitely. There was that guy a couple of years ago, Martin Shkreli. He's an American pharmaceutical sort of billionaire, and he bought out the company that was producing AIDS medication. And when he bought out the company, he took it from. They were selling these at something like I can't remember the numbers, but for the sake of argument, they were selling it at something like $1 a pill before he took over the company. And then when he took over the company, they put it up to something like $20 a pill for this AIDS medication. So they're just because we as humans are kind of like the new commodity to our governments. It's in their interest, I think, to sort of control how we look after ourselves to a certain extent. And obviously, big pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that quite often have sway with governments and stuff as well. So, there are going to always be people trying to cash in on health.
I mean, if we're talking about profiteering out of something like this, then the pharmaceutical companies, whoever has this, whoever's already got it, or whoever creates it, can write their own check, can't they?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. And that's probably, and if there is a vaccine being hidden behind closed doors somewhere, that's probably what they're waiting for. They're probably waiting until sort of all hope is gone kind of thing, and then they can come out with this massively overpriced vaccine.
Yeah, and there's
we're well getting bumped up after this video.
There's some. Look at all the stock markets. Look what's happened to that, right? Yep. People gain from that. There's still people who gain from that.
Yeah, absolutely there is.
Our economy is service-based. If restaurants and hotels have no footfall, our economy will grind to a halt within a matter of weeks. So far, the virus has killed a coach full of people in the UK.
Yeah, we don't make anything anymore, do we? So
yeah, I know. Let's have a look. You might be right. Rewind. I think the 300 plus people who have a dead relative in Italy yesterday alone. I'm just throwing it out there that I have,
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying any of this to kind of belittle or make light of anybody's situation who's had issues with this at all. It is an absolute tragedy. But I do think there is kind of more to it than meets the eye. That's pretty much my sort of bottom line on it, really.
Yeah.
It is shocking that people are dying of something that is on paper so simple. It's not like it's a brand new virus that we've never seen before or anything like that. Like I say, coronaviruses have existed for a long time, but it is scandalous and it is terrible that people are dying of something like that in this day and age. I'm not, trying to belittle that or take anything away from that at all.
No, but like you said, everybody has their own opinions on this, and that's all it is.
And who knows? Who knows who's right and who's wrong? It's all just
exactly. We'll never know. We'll only ever know what the powers that be want us to know. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah, and some people are going to look at it in a more dramatic way than others, because, like we said, we up until now we've kind of been taking it in our stride and not really, we haven't changed any of our routines or anything. We're just kind of plodding along. But obviously, the further along we go, you are being forced to start having to think a little differently.
Yeah.
I mean, like we spoke about on Saturday, up until the weekend, we'd not really discussed changing anything, had we? But then you suddenly were like, because I'm in the at risk sort of section of, if I catch this, I would struggle to deal with it. He was kind of like, do we need to take a couple of more better precautions? Like he said, he's worried that even if I take precautions and stay away from like groups of people and stuff, he could go out, he could get it, and he could bring it home.
Yeah.
So, even though we're taking it in our stride, you kind of have to start thinking.
And like what Rewind says, I wasn't in any way making light of the situation, because Annabelle is at high risk because of her immune system. She's at real high risk in this. So I can't possibly make light of anything. If you were to pick it up, you could be in trouble.
But then what is the alternative? Like you were saying, what's the alternative? Which is to let it completely send you out of your mind with worry, and just not. I'm not prepared to let that sort of happen. Sort of thing.
Rob says one thing's for sure: income tax is going to go up at least to 25%. This crisis is far worse than the banking crisis. Yeah, it's definitely going to have a long-lasting effect, I think. Even after this is finished, because so many people are going to end up getting laid off work. So many people are going to be in financial difficulty. That it will for sure, and the government will have spent so much money trying to support as many businesses as they can, trying to keep things afloat, that they're going to be in more debt than they've ever been before.
It is gonna have a big knock-on effect, but I think there's certain things that not everything that's coming out is going to affect everybody, so you shouldn't necessarily sort of see every bit of new news or every bit of new reporting as being completely doom and gloom, because it might not actually apply to you, or it might not actually kind of happen to you. Obviously, in the case of something like income tax, that is going to potentially affect everybody, but there are certain elements to it, I'm sure, that aren't going to be an issue for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. I'm almost down to the bottom, I think. Tory, I don't think the government will give a shit. We will pay for this. I've no doubt we will. In one way or another, we'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So we've ended up really talking about all this stuff.
I know, yeah. Sorry, you kind of had part two with me. I didn't really mean to sort of get onto this to the extent that you did.
At the start of the show, we'll be led by what people want to discuss, and it's ended up being this again. It's hot topic, isn't it? So it's bound.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it's on a lot of people's minds. I'll tell you what, I'll lighten the mood a little bit. This might give people a bit of a giggle. I don't know. I got my first ever neutral feedback this week on eBay, and it was off a nun, of all people.
Oh yeah, you mentioned this, but you didn't tell me what it was. So go on then.
Yeah. So I sold a 15 quid fleece. Right, nothing special, It wasn't particularly bad condition. It wasn't, outstanding. It was just sort of a middle of the road. It came in a big bundle of clothing, and it was too good to chuck to the charity shop or something like that. So I described it all in the listings, took the pictures of it and everything, and priced it cheap, gave an honest description of it. And then this nun bought it from me, posted it off to her, and next thing I know, neutral feedback, doesn't look as good in person as it does in the pictures and all of this lot. And she's not even contacted me or anything. So I sent her a message to say, you're very welcome to return this item for a full refund. I'm sorry, sorry it's not met your expectations. Yeah, by all means, send it back. We'll give you a full refund. She didn't get back to me at all. So then I got onto eBay about the feedback because I thought, well, maybe there's something they can do because she's not made any effort to return the item or anything like that. And they said basically, no, tough. You've got to sort of live with it, which is fine. But they did tell me how to reply to feedback, which was kind of a new thing that I didn't, because I'd not had sort of negative or neutrals or stuff before. So I didn't know you could actually reply to the feedback. So that was quite useful to be able to do. And I just put in the reply on the feedback, you're very welcome to return this item for a full refund, just so that anybody who looks at that can see that I've at least offered this, the chance to have a refund on it. The buyer's just not sent it back. But yeah, I thought nuns were meant to be a little bit more, sort of understanding of things like that and a little bit more, prepared to sort of.
Are nuns allowed to have eBay?
Why shouldn't they allowed to have
Well,
it?
because aren't nuns meant to be like, they have nothing other than like, I'm just thinking.
I don't know. I think monks traditionally were a bit like that, where the very, very, very traditional sort of monk mentality was kind of isolation and stuff like that. But I don't know about nuns. I don't really know about the whole sort of religious indoctrination aspect of things. But yeah,
I just can't picture a nun sat in the nunnery or whatever it is buying stuff on eBay.
I know, yeah.
I just thought they're not allowed to have possessions and stuff, are they? Or is this
like
the 18th century?
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree with you, to be honest. I would totally agree with that assessment of it. I just thought it was weird that that was like my first ever kind of, if you like, a bit of criticism towards what I'm offering on eBay comes from a bloody nun.
Rewind Resells, put you fleeced a nun.
You fleeced a nun.
Oh, I see what you did there. Very good.
Oh, you are going to hell. You're going to hell for that.
Oh, I was going anyway. Don't worry.
Nuns are like normal people, apparently.
Linda and Gaz says they've seen nuns in the chemist buying makeup. I've never seen a nun. Where are you people seeing all these nuns? Are they like hidden
nuns on the run?
Are they hidden in plain sight? I've got.
We're going to start a new video series. It's Nun Watch. If you spot nuns, send them in.
I've got pictures of like Sister Act. Is this not how it works?
That's what I was thinking of Sister Act when they said like you're not allowed anything, and she's just got like a prison cell for a room.
Yeah,
I imagine like her Apple mat being in the corner going on eBay.
Yeah, she's got like a gold iPhone or something as well. She's just sitting there. Yeah, I just got a weird one.
Can just imagine a Goldberg buying Tatter.
Edinburgh have a nunnery.
Adrian wants none of this talk.
Mr. Diggs, blimey.
That's a blinder, that.
It's not.
Oh, for God's sake. It's getting worse.
Oh, dear. Oh, bloody hell.
Oh, well. That lightened the mood a bit.
Yeah, I thought, let's just get away from the doom and gloom a bit and you can all take the piss out of me.
I'm concerned about that. I've got nuns laughing, running across the road, eating ice cream.
Okay.
Is that literally or just like a mental picture you're talking about there?
It sounded literally, didn't it? So do you reckon there's actually a nun reseller out there somewhere? Do you reckon it's a thing?
I don't know. You sold that Bible pretty quick, didn't you, that you had the other week?
Oh, yeah, that went.
So really, you never know. Catholic Church has got a fair amount of gold, hasn't it? So,
to be fair, if they're a nun and they're wanting to buy a Bible off eBay, wouldn't they already have a Bible somewhere?
You'd think they'd get staff discount, wouldn't you, on them? Really? Yeah.
Apparently, no, it's true. They took a picture of these nuns running across the street, laughing with ice cream.
Fair enough.
Okay.
All the puns are coming in.
They asked me not to post it.
Non-profit organisations. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse, but still somehow better.
Nun thing to report near me. Blue nun.
Blue nun. God, yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. If you know what that is, you're as old as me.
Blue nun was like the Lambrini of kind of our parents' generation, I think. But I sort of have vague memories of underage drinking Blue Nun as well. So yeah, that's fairly fairly tumultuous beverage.
Oh, so we've run any sales today, people? I've had none. Love it.
This is sacrilege.
Love it.
Oh,
okay.
What's that? You know where you see them all? None eaten.
None eaten.
None eaten.
I just going back to that one about the toilet paper. I used to smoke as well, and I was once in a hotel and I couldn't get any cigarettes. I could only get rolling tobacco, and I didn't have any papers, so I martyred the Bible in the in the bedside unit.
Oh God!
That's
claim to shame.
That is desperate.
You know what about going to hell?
Oh yeah. That's what I say. I'm already going, so it's fine. It's warmer anyway, isn't it? So you know.
What time are we on? We've been going an hour and a half, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I probably need to go and get something to eat, to be honest with you guys, because I need to take some medication as well. Yeah, that's cool.
Anything? Do you want to plug anything on your channel coming up?
Yeah, I can do actually. I'm going to be doing my last couple of videos that I've done. I've been trying to give some more sort of existential tips for resellers and for new resellers. Rather than practical tips and stuff like that. I do think practical tips are very important, and I do think there's definitely a place for them. But I'm trying to sort of give more thought process minded tips and kind of how to find your inspiration for things and stuff like that, rather than, you know, this is how to package something or how to, you know, get your packaging materials free. Like I say, there's absolutely a place for that type of information, but I've not seen too many people talking about the thought processes behind things and the kind of more existential side of reselling. So I'm going to be continuing. I've done 2 videos on that so far, and I am going to be continuing down that route with that series. They're shorter videos, certainly by my standards. They are only about half an hour each rather than the hour plus that my videos usually are. But so they're sort of half-hour videos, and it's just kind of my thoughts on particular topics within reselling. They're not scripted videos or anything like that, because none of my videos are. I just sit down and talk about the topics that I think are going to be, you know, potentially on people's minds if they're a new or kind of potential reseller or stuff like that as well. But I guess some of it does apply to, you know, resellers that have been doing it for a while. You know, sometimes it's good to have a fresh perspective. So I'm definitely going to be carrying on with a few more videos in those series, and hopefully get on a few more lives with different people as well, because I'm really enjoying doing these.
Yeah, no, you know? Good. I need to watch. You've done a couple of these videos already, haven't you? But like I said, I haven't watched hardly anything in the last week. So I'm going to watch.
Oh yeah, that's understandable though. Yeah,
I'll make a comment on what I think of it.
I want to put a bit of a plug in, and it's not for us for a change. I'm going to put a plug in for my 6-year-old nephew who has his own YouTube channel.
Oh yeah,
all right.
He bless his little cotton socks. He is an up and coming YouTuber. This is what his little sideline is with his mum and dad, bless them. But his latest video was a mystery unboxing of stuff we put together while we were packing the house up.
Cool.
And basically gave it to him and said, right, don't unpack that till we've moved, and then get your daddy to do a video of it, an unboxing video. And he's put a little bit of magic in there, and bless, it's so cute. So yeah,
that's brilliant.
We're plugging.
Hey, you know, there's something to be said for that though. Have you seen that kid? That is he called Ryan or something? Little American kid. I think he started on YouTube when he was about 5 or something like that, doing toy reviews and unboxings like that. Yes. And the kid, this young kid's now worth millions, you know, from YouTube. So fair play if your nephew, you know, cracks that market as well. It's very much the modern, I guess it's very much the modern way to make money. So
I don't think he's quite there yet. He's just a little bit of a pastime for him, but bless, he gets all the little things in, you know. He's like, you know, smash that bell, like my channel, and you know,
he's a natural then. Yeah, good lad. Good lad. So smash it.
Go have a look for Eric Holt.
Eric Holt.
I've just written it in the channel in the chat. So just search on YouTube Eric Holt's channel, And yeah, please just pay him a visit, even if it's just to like a video or something.
Yeah, definitely. If all the reselling community goes and jumps on it and just gives him a load of subscribers, it'd be amazing for him.
Go and do that for him.
Yeah, bless it. His day.
Thanks very much, Linda and Gaz. £5 super chat. Very kind. Thank you.
So we can have a bottle. No, actually,
we can have an expensive bottle of gin.
No.
You can have a decent bottle of gin now. You don't have to go to Aldi. You can go and get a blue Bombay Sapphire or something now.
No, we can still have the cheap bottle of gin, but we can have some snacks.
Lemonade. Oh.
We can have, but thank you, you're so generous. But you all really need to start saving your pennies.
Yeah, you don't know when you might need it. But thanks, guys, and
thank you.
We wish you all the best. Hope you feel better
get well soon.
Yeah,
posted.
Hope you're feeling better, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, though. Thank you. So that's it. I would also like to just say thank you to everybody who has supported the channel. We just reached just over 4,000 subscribers, which is great. And I have had my YouTube channel for quite a while. I used to just do like travel vlogs, and then I would just post anything that I would video on my phone, like goats in trees is the most famous video that I've got. A 1 minute long clip of goats climbing trees it's got over 250,000 hits on it. It's just ridiculous. So that's how my YouTube channel started, and then it's evolved into other things like a bit of reselling and stuff. So yeah, to get to 4,000 subs is great, and it's taken a while to get there. Thanks for that. Don't forget to sub Andy. If you want to have a look at the link in the description, let's get him to 1,000. He's got to be close now.
Yeah.
Please go and sub him.
I don't know if I've had any more in this stream, to be honest with you, because I can't see it all on the same screen as my phone, but we'll see afterwards.
And that is going to be it for this week. When are we doing our next show? Are we going to go Saturday nights?
I suppose so.
We'll decide later this week whether we're going to do Saturday nights, because Saturday night went pretty well. Not that tonight didn't.
No.
It was. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have a think about it.
It was a good stream. I watched it back on replay. It was a great stream, and like the chat were really getting him. I mean, the chat always really get involved on this channel anyway. But you know, it seemed, because you had a couple of people on to talk to as well, it seemed like there were more, a lot of involvement there. So it's great. Yeah, good stream that.
So we may go Saturday night, we may stick to Monday, but thanks everybody, and we're going to call it a day. Let me just find me VT. We've got to finish with this, yeah, we'll see you later. And thanks, Andy.
Yeah, thanks a lot, chat. Thanks a lot, Chris and Belle. Have a good evening, everybody. Stay safe, stay well, and look after yourselves.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.